Action.
Okay.
Maybe we should start by saying action, like
That's
a movie
fun.
podcast.
Like a movie. Yeah, movie theme. Action. Yeah, that's good. We'll switch turns saying it. I'll say it next time.
All right, cool.
Because it kind of makes the other person, puts the responsibility on the other person to really start it.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, you could say cut. You're going to be like, that was no,
Threw
that
back
was no
on
good.
cut.
Back to one.
It's like when comics host a show, but they, instead of like taking the bullet, they just have like all three hosts come up and be like, how was your day? How was your day? And then they never tell jokes. And then the actual comic on the show like has to host it basically next.
It's the worst, and it's never been done well ever, except when I do it with Michelle Wolf. But let me just say this. That probably sucks too. But what we've done, we've hosted a few shows together. We've never had you on because we care about it. But,
yeah, I get it. I understand.
No, we haven't done it in a long time, obviously, because COVID. But what we would do at least, what do you think of this? We would go up together and we would bounce bits off each other. I'd be like, hey, here's a bit I'm working on. So you get kind of a bit. And then so that gets a laugh. And then she goes, wow, you could say this. This kind of sucks. That reminds me of this. So at least it's a starting off point. And we're both very talented.
But it still makes the first comic feel like a fucking asshole because he's all like alone trying jokes. And you all just have to have fun like a late night show. Like, hey, what do you think about this? And if it doesn't work, you get a save. It's always harder for the next comic because he's alone. And no one, like everyone's like immediately in their head, like, look at this loser. He doesn't have friends like the last guy.
Well, that's something, but it sounds like you're just going first a lot. You're worried about the guy going first. I'm talking about the audience. I'm talking about the good of the show.
Good of the show? Yeah, I mean, that sounds fun. Yeah. Well, you know what it should be? I feel like both of you should, in that situation, fuck around, but then one of you should actually do time after that. That's what I think.
We do that, like later on.
Oh, you do that?
Solo
no, I'm saying first to still take the bullet.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That's a better point. But it is tricky with hosting because I remember, and maybe I've told this story before to you or to the audience, but we'll get into movies in a second. But by the way, both my reviews, we're talking about two movies today, and one of them I'm gonna be like, I loved it, and the other one I'm gonna be like, I don't like it.
Same.
And that's all I have to say.
I know.
So
we
gotta fill the time in here. But one time I was auditioning for the Just for Laughs festival. I think I told this story on this podcast. I suck. I always repeat myself. I'm gay. But
that's all right. I probably forgot, so works out.
But I was auditioning for Just for Laughs, New Faces, and Sean Patton was like their favorite guy. He was like their number one guy. They just thought he was the best. And he hosted at Broadway, and it was a brutal crowd, and he ate shit for like 10 minutes. But they weren't in the room. They were like at the bar having drinks, being like, we don't need to see him. We already know we love him. So they walked in with like 30 seconds left in his set and then just watched me eat it. And I wanted to be like, what you guys don't realize is your golden boy ate it. Everybody's eating it.
Yeah, you can't just start with you got to see the temperature of the room first, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, by the way, it's, you know how movies, like, have you ever seen Fried Green Tomatoes? They're just like, tell me that story again about the ducks. Like in movies, people are always telling you to tell someone to tell them a story again.
Right.
Like, no one's ever like, I've never said to a friend, tell me that story again. It's always the other guy telling the story again and the other person pretending they didn't hear it, you know?
Interesting. Well,
yeah. I just realized that's kind of an attack on just what happened, but like, I don't mean it just from the, but I just mean like, you know what I mean? No one's ever like, tell me that story again. It's always like, oh, I got to pretend I haven't heard this already. You know?
Right.
You don't have to worry about people telling you a story again. They're going to tell you. You know,
it's a good point. Yeah, every once in a while that happens, or if you have a new audience. But there's a lot of moments like that in movies, and it happens in Nomadland, which we'll get into. And I think the term is laying pipe. Like the writers have to lay out like, well, ever since your sister died at my house and I started babysitting your son.
They call that forced exposition. So you're telling the person things they already know.
Right.
Which, of course, for one of the movies is very justified. The movie about dementia, where he really doesn't. That's like justified forced exposition.
Which they don't really do. You just kind of figure it out.
You have to figure. Yeah, it's both these movies today are very depressing.
We should have thrown in like The Naked Gun as a third movie.
It's so dark. I'm like, but one of them I think is depressing good. One of them I think is depressing bad.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like in a good depressing still makes me feel happy in a way that I
Yes.
watch something great. Like I watch something great artistically.
Yes, which is a place for debate in film, and maybe you and I have had this debate before. I think we've talked about it where you've watched some depressing movie 1,000 times, because
Yeah.
I always get shit because I've watched Schindler's List 45 times, and people think that's insane.
You think
but I'm
that's
like,
depressing that the Jews get saved at the end? You think that's a depressing story?
well, obviously more Jews die than get saved. I don't know how familiar you are with the
true.
story. I think it's like,
I guess a very small percentage that survived in that.
yeah, I'm not good with numbers, but like 6 million dead and 1,100 saved. I don't know what that works out as, but
Spielberg's a real, half glass full, and you know what I'm saying. Sorry, I think I took my medication twice last night, and now I'm having like anxiety.
Are you having anxiety as a result, or are you having anxiety that something bad's going to happen because you took double medicine?
I think I'm having an anxiety. Well, here's the thing. This is much like the fucking movie we're about to watch. I don't remember if I was talking to my friend and I take Prozac and I'm talking to my friend and I got the bottle out and then suddenly I had this moment like Anthony Hopkins where I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I just took it or not.
Yeah.
And so I had to fucking take it. And now I'm like, did I just take it? Now I'm anxiety today, but I'm feeling anxiety anyway. I don't know if it's anxiety or the medication or, But
so what's the worst case scenario if you took 2 Prozacs? But wouldn't you have like no anxiety?
No, it fucks you up when you like change shit real quickly.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm gonna eat shit tonight at the cellar because I'm anxious, and
I'll see you there.
Anyway, back to what we were saying. I just wanted to get that out there. And you have a canker sore.
I have a canker sore on my tongue. Before we started recording, I didn't even finish saying, I'm like, man, I'm really bummed I have a canker sore. And Raanan just started talking about what's wrong with him. But
usually it's already selfish to like when someone says something for the other person to immediately say there's problem. But I took it to the next level where I kind of like interrupted you before you finished this. You're like, God, I have this canker sore and it's really, and I'm like, I know I have so much anxiety right now. Like I swooped in and just finished the sentence. The sentence ended about me.
Yeah, it was bad. It was a bad swoop, but I have a canker like on the back of my tongue, but it's next to like my sharpest molar. So every time I talk, it's just rubbing against it and bleed. It won't heal. I've been doing salt water, Listerine. I got a B12 vitamin, and it's brutal. I think I have to take like 3 days off from talking, which would make a lot of people happy. But
no, yeah, fuck yeah. We're all just. It's just there's always a problem. There's always a fucking problem.
It never stops, and it's whatever.
But anyway, let's talk about these movies. Let's get
into it. I mean, we should talk about Nomadland first, right?
For sure, because I watched that. I literally just finished The Father, so I will let that process while we're talking about Nomadland.
Yeah, I finished it right before you. I finished it at 1:30.
Yeah. I like literally 5 minutes ago. Okay, so Nomadland is a movie that you've already seen.
Yes, but I watched it a second time, which I often, and I've said on the record before that I like it. And here's what happens is, and I say this all the time, it really does take a couple times to really get a feel for a movie because, and we've talked about it in the show, because situations matter. So the first time I saw Nomadland was a few months ago. I was at Sarah's mother's house, and it's me and Sarah and her mom, and we have good conversations, a lot of talking. She's an intellectual. We talk politics and geography and history and family. And finally, by the time it's just one-on-one, just eye contact across the table talking. So when someone's like, let's watch a movie, you're like, yes, great. Let's get a movie going. And then it always takes forever to find a movie because you've seen this, I've seen that. She's like this. So we're like, let's watch this. This is supposed to be one of the best movies of the year, yada, yada. So we put it on. So you're just relieved to be watching something, enjoying something. And it was enjoyable enough that I was like, this is good. And it is well done, I think. So I was like, I liked it enough. I just watched it a second time and I've really changed my opinion a bit.
So in other words, if I'm hearing this straight, you thought it was a good movie, but really it was just a good time. You're having a good time with your I've had a similar situation. I had a girlfriend once, and we'd always do fun things, but I don't think I was that into her, but we'd always do fun things. So I started thinking it was a good relationship.
Right.
It was really just like the concerts, You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you're with a girlfriend and you just keep on going to amusement parks. You're like, I love this relationship. But no, it's just you could be with anyone on the roller coaster. You know what I mean? So you were just having a good time and you thought the movie was it.
Yeah. And the movie, I do think this movie is well done. I think it's a pretty good movie. There's some beautiful shots in it.
Beautiful shots.
And it's not a bad movie, but it's a bad time. And as you say a lot, and I feel with this movie, it's extremely aware of itself and it's extremely proud of itself. It feels like it's really just going for it.
Yeah, you said this before. It's a great point. Yeah, and I have a term for the movie. I think this describes it. It's subtly pretentious. It's not overtly pretentious, but it's subtly pretentious. And it's pretentious because it doesn't try to have a plot at all. And it is like what you said. It's just like Frances McDormand taking a shit for like 10 minutes. And it's it's just like, there are some beautiful things in it, but there's no human drama. Like to me, you have to develop relationships. You know what I mean? And what are you smiling at?
I'm smiling at. I agree. I agree.
I thought maybe like my titty jiggled or something, and that's what you're smiling at.
No. I am fascinated because you're always in a different place and always like you're always in like a different kind of outfit. Like you're in a t-shirt with a trucker hat. You're in a collar,
polo
like,
today.
Yeah. Like you had suspenders on a couple episodes ago.
I've tried different personalities on this podcast. This is the beta experiment for like my new personalities. Whatever you say, then you're my focus group. What do you think of the collar? You think it's good?
I think it looks okay. It looks more you. Last week you had like a mesh trucker hat and a t-shirt.
I got called out by everyone on that. Like, it's like a bad fashion move where like everyone you see that day is just like, what are you doing? Like no one would let it slide. No one let it. You know how you do something different, you hope everyone just runs with it? No one ran with it. Everyone's like, what? It's off. What the fuck? Well,
it's a very broy hat. Right now, you look like computer Jew. Like you look like you're in front of like an Apple IIe, and you know what I mean. You're looking up some
Apple
numbers.
IIe. I look like I'm in 1985.
A little bit, yeah. Frankly,
I look like I'm loading a porn. Like it's taken like an hour. Yeah. So wait, what are we talking about?
Nomadland.
This is the kind of movie, and I've seen a bunch of. Have you seen these independent films? I feel like they come out every year. They always get great reviews. They're like, they've kind of confused real and boring. They're boring, so you're like, this is so real. You're like, this is boring, so it has to be real. This has no plot, so it has to be real. But it takes no risks. Like the risk of having a plot and having relationships is that you can have bad dialogue or cliched moments. But this movie never risks any of that because it doesn't do a plot. So you're never like, that plot's stupid because there is none. And you're never like, that relationship's cliched because there aren't. I mean, the relationships are so bare fucking minimum.
Yes, I agree. I think it's a good point. It's just, I don't know. Here's another problem I'm having. I agree with everything you said. Here's another issue I'm having with the movie is I have grown to dislike Frances McDormand as a person.
Right. Oh, yes.
As like an artist, I think she's amazing. We talked about Fargo last week and how brilliant it is and how brilliant she is in it. But the Three Billboards, I mean, I put out a solo podcast to just talk about what a piece of shit it is. It's literally the worst movie I ever saw in my life.
It's so bad, it made you kind of lose a little respect for Frances McDormand, which is irrational because whatever. It's like not her, but like it did make you lose a little respect.
And she won an Academy Award for that movie.
And she was annoying at the speech.
Annoying, and then she was very annoying at this year's Oscars. And now I have designs to try to be my own filmmaker and actor and I want to be in the film business. I'm trying to shift into the film business. So we're gonna have to like
delete all these,
wipe and delete all of these. But I watch her at the Academy Awards, and like she's wearing like a blanket as a outfit or something. I don't know what it's like a trash bag with a hole in it as a dress. And then I don't even think she thanked her husband, who's like one of the greatest screenwriters, filmmakers of all time. And he just looked pissed. He looked like he hated her. And I was like, Sarah's like, does he hate her? I'm like,
he always looks like that. He always looks like a corpse. He just has no expression. Him and the other guy, Ethan, the other guy, they both just look like the corpse of Tim Burton or something. It's just like they have no expression. But I start wondering, does Joel Cohen kind of realize she's annoying? That's what I start wondering. Because they have such a good sense of when people are being pretentious in movies.
Yes.
So I feel like the shit she says on stage is he's thinking That'd be a good line for a really annoying person in one of my movies. Like you know what I mean? Like I wonder if he's annoyed by that.
That's exactly how I feel. Exactly what I said watching the Oscars, because I'm like, this guy's like the most brilliant writer, filmmaker ever. And he's watching this woman be like, "Arr!" Like she's like howling and saying things that don't make sense, literally. And I mean, she talks.
See it? She said like a sword.
Shit.
She said something about like a sword coming. The sword is the art, or the word is sword, or something.
Something like that. I can't even remember. And then her last one is hard. And this is where I just sound like a misogynistic asshole piece of shit.
I know what you're saying.
But she just talks about how men are the worst and men are holding her back and women got to come and women are this. But I'm like, all right, great. But you are married to like the best filmmaker of a generation who puts you in all of his movies. Like if you take that away,
that man pushed you forward.
Yeah,
that man pushed you very forward.
I mean, it's hard to not be like, wait, what? Like, all right, just say like men are the worst. I hate the patriarchy, except for this guy that I married and he's put me in all of his films and given me the best roles in a career.
Well, also it's annoying because didn't she do that coy thing where she got on stage and she said one word and then she said like a term for having in a writer that women have to get like equal amount of jobs. Do you remember this? She's like, I have just one word, writer, like something writer. And it was like a showbiz term that meant women should get equal amount of jobs on film sets, which I'm totally for. But just to like be so in your bubble that you're just saying one word and then no one's going to understand it outside of your little showbiz bubble. It's just obnoxious.
Yeah, I should have rewatched those speeches because I remember hating all of them. And it's like the Maya Angelou quote, people don't remember what you said or did, but they remember how you made them feel. Yeah. That's what I got going on here. I just remember there's 3 speeches that I'm like, oh, I can't stand it. So now when I see her in this movie, I just see Frances McDormand. And then what I see is this really going for it. It feels like the filmmaker who comes from crazy amount of money, by the way, which is really interesting.
I don't even know. I've done no research for this one. Who is the filmmaker?
Chloe something. She's Chinese. Well, she's Asian American, but I think she's from China because I know they hate her in China. I believe I didn't do that much research, but she's a very petite woman, and I thought she did a good job on the movie.
It's beautiful to look at, and before we talk too much shit, I mean, I do want to say there are some beautiful little moments, and I get that like everyone's like a non-actor besides the 2 ones, and that's cool. They all have like non-actory kind of, you know how like non-actors are bad actors, but then it feels natural them being bad actors. They all have that good tone. And there are a couple beautiful moments, like the woman who has that speech about the sailboat in the driveway. That's a beautiful speech.
Yes.
And the woman who's dying, and when she gets the video of all the swallows or whatever, that's beautiful. But at the end of the day, it's beautiful on like a documentary level, but it never has the intensity of a real narrative to me. It's like, I know they're doing something with her and David Strathairn, but it's so fucking minimal. In movies like this, they never build rapport. Like it's almost like, my friend said this, but it's true. It's almost like they wrote a screenplay and then they're like, we'll figure out everyone's rapport once we're on set. And then they're on set and Frances McDormand tries to riff a couple lines, but they're bad. So she's just like, we're the bitches of Badlands, you know? It's like, are we supposed to pretend now that they have a relationship? It's just like, you don't care about anyone's relationship.
Yes, I agree. And I do agree there are good moments. And like I said, I enjoyed watching it once. And sometimes that's what a movie is. There are movies that you're like, that's good for one watch. And then you rewatch it and you're like I remember watching Silver Linings Playbook and I was like 45 days sober and alone on the road. And I went and saw, and they had that Dylan song, the Dylan Johnny Cash duet in there.
Oh, you mean Girl from the North Country Fair?
Yeah, it's like the beautiful Dylan Cash version, and they're slow dancing. And I had just gotten sober, and he was seeing it, and I watched it, and I was like, "That's the best movie I ever saw in my whole life." Yeah. And then I watched it like a couple months later, and I was like, "This isn't as good as I remembered." And then I watched it a third time, and I'm like, "This is a really bad movie."
Well, it's like you're constantly you're bringing shit to it, and it's like the first time it's like, and I've been there too, where like. Sometimes you have a lot of emotional baggage that you like just put onto a movie, or the movie have hit you in the right way, and then it's hard to like fully judge. You know what I mean? Until I guess you're a different person. I thought that movie was weird. I felt like that movie was like bipolar is a real issue, and I felt like it was treating bipolar like quirky the whole time.
Yeah,
it was like bipolar, you know, independent film quirkiness. It's like I feel like it's a little harsher than that, or harder to deal with.
I agree. And also, there's a scene in that movie where his like 60-year-old Indian therapist is at the Eagles game with his face half painted, and he's like, "Go big green today, we all." And it was just kind of like, all right. Like, I guess, like, I'm sure there are immigrants from India who root for the Philadelphia Eagles, but I'm like, are there Indian immigrants who are brilliant, like Harvard, whatever, psychologists who on the weekends paint their face green and say, "Go big green," or whatever, and like go to and get drunk at a, I maybe, sure.
Real quickly, minor digression, which is a digression on a digression. So we're not even talking about the movies we're supposed to be talking about. But you know how they did that trope in old, like in Judd Apatow movies where the Indian guy would always get the cuss word wrong, and it was such a stereotype. He'd be like, "Fuck you in my mouth." You know what I mean? He'll be like, I will fuck you in your, I will face my fuck you. Like, and then you're supposed to laugh like, "Ha, you know, there's no English," you know?
Right.
I always thought that was so offensive. And then I was like, I'm reading a book on Amazon. And they talk about this one guy who worked there who's Indian who constantly was saying curse words and getting them wrong. It would just be like, "You can suck my cucks." And I was like, oh man, I guess some stereotypes are true. But anyway, maybe that's the moment we'll get canceled. But yeah, I didn't think that movie was that great. But Nomadland is, I don't know. I'll just, if you're gonna capture all that, just watch a documentary. I feel like there's one good scene. One really great scene, which is the scene where David Strathairn brings the licorice. That it?
I believe so. I mean, it's spelled
licorice?
ICE, but I think it's licorice.
I'm having dementia. This is good. Licorice.
No,
he brings
dementia.
It's he brings the licorice to like, and then she's like, he's just wanting her to like her, you know, he's wanting her to like him, and she brings it, she's like, okay. And then when he picks up the box and the plates fall, that's a great moment because you're just seeing someone trying really hard to get this woman to like him and then fucking it up, and then she shouts at him. It's a painful, real moment. That's like the one scene in the movie. It's like, that's a good scene. Have more of those scenes. Have more scenes.
But that scene was frustrating because I remember seeing this the first time too. She's so like overtly shitty to him.
She's very mean. And
it's weird because it makes me have like less empathy for her because I'm like, well, he's being nice. He's just a guy that you know who's there, who's being nice. And you're being like a real asshole to him, kind of like throughout the movie.
Well, then it gets into a thing where it's like, I mean, I think that scene on its own is just, it's uncomfortable and real. And it's just like, but I do think like another problem with it, and maybe this is what you're kind of bringing up, is that why is he into her?
Right. Exactly.
You know? And this is another issue with the movie. The movie tries to be so meandering to avoid any tropes, you know, or any cliches, but it kind of has the ultimate cliche where he's just into her because it's a movie. You know what I mean? Like he's just into her because you need that in the movie. So even in its ability to hide tropes, it's still kind of following a bad trope where it's like, it's fine for someone to be into someone in a movie, but you need a reason. You can't just be like, oh, because she's a woman in the movie and she needs an interest, you know? You got to they don't connect. What is the connection there?
Exactly. I have the exact thing in my notes. Like, I'm like, why would he not just be like, oh, that's a cunt. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. She's got her own thing going on. Because it's not like she's, and I don't mean this like shittily. I mean this, it's not like she's beautiful. Like her hair's all fucked up. She shaved her own head. There's tons of people in the group.
There's like, a bunch of much nicer 60-year-olds, butch 60-year-olds in the group.
Yeah, and she's just being shitty. And you think he would just go, all right, well, she's not into me, whatever. I fucked up. I broke her plates. I feel like an asshole. No sweat. And then there seems to be exactly what you're saying, a friendship there where there's no friendship.
Obligatory. It's obligatory. It's this movie tries to avoid cliches by taking no risks in terms of dramatic moments, and still hits on a big one, still fails. And I think it's bad when movies avoid those risks. I think you want to show a relationship growing and changing. And yeah, it's hard because sometimes you write dialogue that sucks and you have to change it. But like this movie takes no risk. It's like those, you ever hear, sometimes the best songs are really simple, you know? And then you ever hear these songs that are just like all weird images and you have no idea what they're saying. You've taken no risk. And the risk of writing a song is to do something simple that's not corny, you know? And that's a really hard thing to do, to write a simple song that's not corny. In this movie, they're refusing to like really develop a story.
You just described early Dylan and then later Dylan. Like, I don't you find
That's
that
true.
I know we're both Dylan guys, but that's a lot of Dylan to me. Is just a lot of like, well, you're just saying a lot of phrases and things that aren't really anything.
But what's great about him is he shows he can do the other way. Very,
Of course.
You know what I mean? And that's what's like, he can't just, a lot of artists can only do the weird shit. You know what I mean? But he has some perfectly beautiful, simple songs. But yeah, there are like 25% of Dylan is him just kind of, not some of the weird songs are great. And there is a lot behind it.
Of course.
Like 20% is just him, just usual suspects looking at shit on a wall and putting it together in a song. You know what I mean?
Yes. But so you mentioned like it's documentary style. That's how I feel about this movie when I watch it, because a lot of it, like you said, is real people and real places, beautiful shots. And it's a book that I almost read that book. It was like one of those books I had in my hand before it was made a movie because it was interesting. The cover was interesting.
Oh, it's like a real story.
Yes. And I put it down and I think I would like that more. It feels like, this is what it feels like to me. We're watching a well-made documentary that Frances McDormand like snuck in front of the camera to do things. And I'm like, oh, move her and then show me like these people over here. That guy's interesting. That woman's interesting.
It kind of, yeah, exactly. In a way, it kind of by doing both, it satisfies neither. It doesn't have the power of a documentary where you're like feeling like it's all real because they've like clearly, I guess, written shit for everyone to say,
Right.
And then it doesn't have the power of a drama where there's like a lot of developed plot or action. So it kind of fails at both,
Yeah, it's like Hooters. The rest
yeah,
of Hooters.
It's not a strip joint or a restaurant.
Yeah, the food sucks and the women aren't like if I want to eat good wings, I'll go to a wing place. If I want to see sexy women, I'll go to a titty bar.
Ah, that's great. We should use that as a term. Let's start having terms for our podcast. For any movie that kind of tries two things and fails at both, a Hooters.
It's a Hooters. This is a real Hooters movie.
This is a real Hooters situation. I mean, and we see our Hooters too, which is, what you talked about being the award moment.
Yes, exactly. It feels like there's a bunch of those. It feels like the filmmaker and McDormand got together and they were like, let's go for it. I legitimately picture this conversation in a Hollywood coffee shop. Let's just fucking get gritty let's get you another Oscar and we'll make it real looking. We'll film it handheld and you'll be shitting. And she's like, yeah, I'll take my pants off. And they're like, we don't have to show it. She's like, no, show it. I am willing to cut my own hair and take a big shit. And then I'll make a face like it smells and open the window. That'll be a little comic relief.
It's her DiCaprio Revenant. She's going. That's the menopausal version of the Revenant where you show them shitting in a bucket. This is, by the way, I mean, it is menopausal Into the Wild. I feel like the whole time.
Yes, it does feel very similar to Into the Wild, which is also a very flawed movie that I like more than this one.
But here's the thing: as much as I find Into the Wild like kind of like really self-important and pretentious, here's another issue with this movie. At least in Into the Wild, they're having fun at times. I see no joy in what any of these fucking people are doing. They say they're having fun, but it's the most somber fucking movie. And this is the problem. I really, except for rare occurrences, I can't take a movie without any levity. I don't mean every movie has to be fucking Naked Gun, but there needs to be some humor. This movie is so somber to the point where like, I don't understand why any of these people are doing this. They don't seem like they're enjoying it. It doesn't seem adventurous. You're just showing the awful parts.
Yes,
like
I agree.
It's like just like depressing to watch and not in like a, it's just like, I don't get it. It's like, I just don't want anyone to be on. I don't think anyone should be. You should be watching this movie going, I understand what they're doing,
Right.
But instead, the whole time I'm like, why are they doing? I mean, I get that they're have financial issues, but like, at least show them like having moments that they do have it Into the Wild where you can kind of understand.
Exactly. There's a moment in this movie that brought up two thoughts that I want to remember, but there's a moment, in this movie where like it's the sad piano ballad, heartstring music, and it's like a slow motion close up of her like showering mud off her neck. Yeah. And it doesn't even make sense. Like there's a glob of mud on her, which doesn't even really make sense why there's mud like up on her head. And she's just like slow-mo shower. And you're like, all right, I get it. It's sad and she's dirty. And again, her naked, I just picture her floating, being like, are you getting my bush? Get my bush because I want to win my Oscar. It's just her holding the snake. It just felt like, we're going to have you do all these crazy things. You hold a snake, you take a shit, you show your bush, you know, you're cleaning diarrhea. There's literally like just dirty diarrhea on the toilet, and it shows her like on her knees cleaning it, and you're like, okay, we get it. It's hard. She's really going through it. Do you need diarrhea sprayed on the toilet?
How hilarious would it be if when she was floating with her bush, you just see an Oscar just float into the frame?
That I would love. I would love to make a spoof like that.
Well, that's why this movie has. It feels like this movie is like a little condescending to poor people in a sense that like it doesn't show them having any fun. Like the whole point of them going on the road. I know they're in a financial situation, but not all of them are forced into homelessness. In fact, most of them aren't. Most of them are like, I'd rather just not work and do this and have enjoying moments. And that's great. So ultimately what they're saying is there's going to be a lot of hardships by doing this, but the joy of not having to work at 9 to 5, the joy of seeing beautiful things, of having fun. You never showed me the fucking joy in this. You just showed the horrible shit. Like,
yes.
And that's the somber condescension of like Hollywood, where they're like, it's poor people, so we have to show them struggling the whole time. And this rich actress will get an award for pretending to be poor. Look how hard it is for her to pretend to be poor. You know what I mean? And then in a way, we almost think she's a great actress because this takes so much range because of how fucking rich she is. You know what I mean? Like we start thinking like, oh, she deserves an Academy Award because she's fucking no AC in front of Frances McDormand. It's like, there's no joy to be had. So I don't understand these. I don't understand. I'm just depressed the whole time.
Yes, I agree. And it's funny, I didn't even put this together, that these two movies we're here to talk about are the two Best Actor and Best Actress awards, or Best Female Actor, whatever it's called now. And yeah, one is just an incredible range, incredible performance, just a staggering performance, which I don't know. We'll get into that in a second, obviously. But her, it really does feel like, all right, just get a short haircut, don't put makeup on, and then take a shit, hold a snake, swim naked, smoke a cigarette, clean shit off a toilet. It's not really a brilliant performance. She's just doing things that like movie stars don't typically do. You don't see Meryl Streep, you know, whatever, fucking cleaning shit off a toilet.
I do think there is some of that classist shit there where you're like, yeah, where you're like, wow, yeah, you don't, yeah, exactly. It's like this celebrated actress really fucking getting her hands dirty. It's like, there's like a ugly classicism to it. Not to say rich people, not to say you can't play poor people, but like, the way they do it with such sobriety, such like, I don't know. It's like, it's almost like they can't imagine that being poor is anything but awful the whole time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like they can't imagine anything else. And there's no, like, what are the fun moments? I mean, I know people talk about seeing the birds fly around, or like, they're like, you know, I want to get places, but you don't ever see like, I guess there's one moment where they're walking in the desert and it's kind of beautiful, but you don't ever see like, yeah, them like, just once you want the audience to be like, I get it. I get why they're doing it.
Which Into the Wild has a lot.
Have that. Into the Wild has a bunch of that, you know, it's like him on the boat in the water and all that shit. But like, there's not one of those moments here.
No, in fact, it's the complete opposite. And I said it after we watched it, is like, it makes me want to have a nice home. That's what I watch it. I'm like, I'm not like, oh, I get it. It's like, I mean, I guess that's part of it too, is that she can't afford shit. And it's like, you're grateful for your home.
But she could stay with her sister.
Yes, exactly. Which is another one where she goes to visit her sister, and like just perfectly, they're like, boy, I wish I had gotten in on that housing crisis. I'll tell you that. And you're like, oh, wow. They just happen to have that conversation.
So funny how this movie avoids tropes and then falls into like really obvious ones. And then this movie goes the whole time with never having really many everyone's just telling a story to someone. Like it just cuts to like no one's really talking. And I get that's the point. It's like a documentary feel, but no one's really like talking to each other. Everyone literally communicates through stories, you know? But then when they actually have the sister, it's really bad open dialogue right away in the room where she's just like, you hid. It's that shit I was saying about Ingmar Bergman or shit. It's kind of Woody Allen. Let's not get into that, but it's kind of similar. It's like, you were the one who made me be honest, and now you're gone and I can't be honest. It's like, you know, Jesus Christ, have a little fucking subtext, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. And also there's a scene, I'm just looking at some of my notes. Like there's a scene where they're watching the alligator, because it's this documentary. There's no real whatever. They're watching a guy feed an alligator rabbit. she sounds like she's retarded.
I
Like
know.
she's playing the character. She's like, oh no, oh, he's after you. Oh. Like she acts like retarded, like the way she does at the Oscars. Like she seems like she's got a head injury.
I think I just got it. I think we yeah, you're right. And I mean, we're kind of saying this, but I didn't research this movie, but I'm beginning to think this movie thought it could riff its way into relationships. And the actors just weren't that good at that. I mean, unless I don't know, maybe there was a very big script, did they just have no script and try to riff their way into things?
I don't know. It feels like that. I mean, it definitely feels like when she's putting on the snake and looking at the alligator, she's totally improvising.
Judd Apatow or Mike Nichols, or Robert Altman, they are not, because it's just fucking like, it's just bad riffs. It's just like, what's in that alligator's mouth? And they have nothing in common, and there's no reason why they're into each other. And then at the end, he's like, I like you because you're a good person, even though you're not.
Yeah, she's just been an asshole to him the whole time.
But then you're like, okay, finally you get something at the end where it's like, is she going to stay with him or not? Right. And deep down, there's no way she's going to stay with him, but like, you don't care. You just don't give a shit. When she's on the road at the end, you're like, I knew that was going to happen. I don't care. I'm depressed in a bad way.
Yes. And I didn't make it to the end the second time. So this is from my memory from 4 months ago, but is it weird? Because I remember having this thought. Couldn't she live in the empty house? Like she goes back to the town that's been abandoned.
Well, I
full structures there. Couldn't she like spend a couple nights there?
Maybe. Yeah, I guess she could.
This is an actual question. I'm not like, what about this thing I thought of? That's a genuine question of like, okay,
like
so
without power, just to live there for a little bit.
Yeah, just to like sleep indoors. Like, I don't know. Like, also the other thing was I remember, and maybe if I finish watching it again, I'd be like, no, what am I talking about? They show this, whatever. But they also like, she goes to his office and like some of his stuff is still there where you're like, so did they close like a fire? Like he didn't get his stuff. It was just like they closed. He's like, oh, gotta go. Can't come back here. Like, why is there still shit there untouched?
Like his mug is still there. They didn't let him get his box. He tried to get his box. Like, fuck your box. You're going out with you. Like, fuck, you can't put anything in the box.
He got some of his stuff, but not all of it. And there's homes there.
Also, that's the other depressing thing is that like she's clearly grieving the whole time because she felt like she had a good life, But then the life she lost sounds equally as fucking awful and depressing.
Yes.
A great time. Him working in the oil mining fucking whatever it was, oil or whatever awful. It was a great time. Him working in this fucking mining factory and us living in a shitty house in the fucking it just seems everything. There's no joy to be had. So it's like, I don't need a movie to have joy, people experience joy in it. I need there to be the possibility of joy. And you never feel that at any moment.
Yes. And it also feels like, just to say all the same shit, it feels like they're going for this thing of like, America is really tough and unfair and tragic, which I agree with all of that. But there's amazing portrayals and depictions of that. This just didn't do it. It was just too over the toply, like, we're the worst, this is the worst, wow, what an awful place.
I think you're 100% correct. And I also think because this movie had the agenda of showing how much America's fucked over these people, it prevented the movie from ever having levity or showing them have fun, because it was so concerned with making a statement.
Right.
But movies have to be more than statements. They have to be human dramas. And this movie, like, I know it tries to be this human drama about her not being able to connect with anyone, you know what I mean? But like, it's such on the surface. And yeah, I really think they were so concerned with showing struggle only just to make that statement to win an Oscar, which is what happened. Because God forbid you show people having a fun time, homeless, and it's like, oh shit, maybe there is joy to be had, no matter how fucked up the government is, Right.
And I think Sound of Metal, which we talked about before, is a much, much better film. But
similar.
It's just a movie about this guy dealing with deafness, and that's not enough. We need the movie about the economy right now.
Yeah.
That has to win because of COVID, and the economy's fucked up, and Amazon's a thing. So that movie gets it, even though Sound of Metal is a fucking 300 times better. And so is The Father, by the way.
And Sound of Metal is kind of similar in the sense that they do use non-actors, but like there's so much more of like you're understanding his situation, you're understanding what he wants, and you understand the conflict in his head. You just never fully understand her, which is kind of like the failure of a movie if you're not really understanding the person, you know?
Yes, I do know, and I agree.
Now let's go to a movie that is terrifyingly empathetic. In a way that is just like fucking, oh my God. So did you know it was a play?
I didn't know that. And it's funny because I actually thought this feels like a play. You could shoot this as a play because it's all one location. And then after the movie, I bought it on iTunes, and there was a couple of little, what do you call it? Like little behind the scenes making of.
Yeah.
And so I watched those, and they kept calling it a play, which was Anthony Hopkins in the play. Did he?
No, it's Frank Langella.
Who's that?
You know Frank Langella.
I'm sure I do, but I don't know him by name, obviously, or else I would have gone, oh, wow, Frank Langella.
Frost Nixon. He plays Nixon and Frost Nixon.
Oh, okay. I know that guy.
He's like the bad guy. He's like the bad guy in Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg. He's always like the guy telling Robin Williams not to, make it too fun at whatever administration they're at. Actually, I don't know if he's ever played that part, but
all right, I'm looking him up.
You know Frank Langella.
Okay. So, but it was written for what's it called? For Hopkins.
Was it originally?
That's what he said. That's what the guy said.
Oh, maybe he wrote it for Hopkins, and then they could only get Frank Langella for the play.
God, he's in. Frank Langella is in Good Night and Good Luck with the guy from A League of Their Own / Nomadland. David
Strathairn.
Yes,
he's a great actor.
Yes.
The father. First of all, on a personal note, I was a caretaker for a guy with dementia.
Oh wow.
And there's so many things that are just like very eerily similar. The immaturity of him, the always trying to crack jokes to pretend you know what's going on, the attempts the suspicions, and the just like not wanting to be treated like a child, but rebelling in a way that's kind of childlike.
Right.
Hopkins is fucking incredible. And, I know the guy, people got mad he didn't get the Oscar, but.
Oh, Chadwick Boseman.
First of all, people are mad, but it's like, give the Oscar to the person who can fucking accept it. That's what I say. Like, give it to the person who knows they're getting an Oscar. And if there is an afterlife and he's watching, I assume he's transcended the pettiness of, I don't think he's in heaven going, well, this fucking bullshit, it's fucking rigged. You know what I mean? So in that sense, give it to the person who can appreciate it, who's fucking alive.
Yeah, who I believe, was it you that told me this or somebody else, or I read it or I forget, but I think Anthony Hopkins wanted to be present via Zoom. And he was like, if I win, I'll give a speech via Zoom. And the Academy was like, nah, you got to be there. And he's like, well, I'm 107 years old and I live in England and it's a fucking 9-hour flight and I'm a legend. Can I just do a Zoom thing? And they were like, nah.
But why are they like, people were mad that he was just on Zoom, but they understand if they gave it to Chadwick Boseman, there'd be no Zoom.
Well, you don't know that.
I mean, do they want to show his corpse? Chadwick Boseman gives an amazing performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, but it's kind of like you know how the people get mad when you talk shit about the dead. Like if you tweet something about the dead, people get mad. It's like that's who you should be talking shit about. They're not going to hear it. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Give the Oscar to the alive person. And also Anthony Hopkins, I mean, whatever. You can't compare actors. Also, the Oscars is bullshit. If you're mad about the Oscars, you are so fucking white and it's just so annoying. But Anthony Hopkins is just incredible in this.
There's a lot of non-whites upset about the Oscars, aren't they? I mean, isn't that the whole thing, that it's too white?
Well, I feel like white people are upset that it's too white.
Right, it was white people getting upset. Well, this year wasn't that white. But anyways, also, I thought you were going to make this point, which I think is a better point. No offense to your point.
Jesus Christ.
Why don't they give it to the best guy, who is Anthony Hopkins?
Well, that's what I said at the end. Well, I don't know who's the best. Did you see the other one? Yeah. All right. I think Anthony Hopkins is better. Yeah.
What other one?
The one, did you see him moderating Black Bottom?
No, I thought it was for Black Panther.
No, you fucking.
I thought it was Ma Rainey's Black Panther.
Black Panther was like 12 years ago. You think they're just kidding?
Or what about the other one? 84 bridges or 27 dresses, whatever that one was.
Or the Bloods.
I didn't watch any of this stuff.
I'm so sick of Spike Lee writing his titles in like that phonetical way. That's so annoying.
I hate
Blood.
Spike
Shut
Lee.
the fuck up.
I hate Spike Lee. I think he stinks. I really do.
Yeah, but so let's not get too talking shit about too many black people on this. But Chadwick Boseman's amazing, and but Anthony Hopkins, this is a fucking powerhouse role, and it's such a difficult role.
Can I just cut in to say I love Jordan Peele. I think he's fantastic. I love both movies, and I really like Steve McQueen, and I like the other guy. What's the guy? Singleton.
I quit David Black people. It's making it worse. I love.
And Cosby was like my hero before the rape.
I love Frederick Douglass and
Denzel, obviously fantastic.
No. But so what was we talking about?
You started talking about the father.
The father is So the father, if you haven't seen it, you go watch it. It's a movie from the perspective of someone with dementia. So it's in a sense you're seeing dementia from his perspective. So like you don't really know what's going on the whole time. You're basically in his head.
Yeah, it's confusing a bit, but someone had told me before going in, they're like, the movie's confusing because different actors play the same.
Yeah.
So I went in being like, oh, okay. I thought it was going to be like LA Confidential or like, I was like, oh, okay. Like trying to pay attention. I'm like, oh, it's not confused. Like you get it. You're like, oh, I see. We're on a loop here. And it's the guy.
Yeah. And you're never like, you might be confused, but you know why you're confused. You
exactly.
know what I mean? You know, like the point of that. It's pretty straightforward. You're in the head of a guy. It would be weird if you weren't. It'd be weird if you're like, yeah, put me in the head of a guy with dementia. Everything made sense, you know?
Yeah. It's like, oh, I watched like, again, like LA Confidential or Chinatown or whatever. You're like, wait, what? Who's going on? That lady's dead, but she's not dead. This is like, oh, I understand.
Yeah.
He's got dementia. So
he's got dementia. You don't have to fully, I mean, I think by the end you kind of get it all, but like you don't have to fully get it to understand what's really happening, which is you're watching a man's life fall apart while him trying to act like he has it together. And then basically that's what you're watching. And then by the end, he has a moment where he just completely loses it and you see what he's actually feeling. And you're just looking into someone's terrified soul, and it's the most depressing thing in the world. And he's literally just saying, I want my mommy. And it is so, this movie is like depressing, but it like hits you. It fucking hits you.
Yeah, it really does. And Sarah watched it with me. And Anthony Hopkins, Sarah's father, passed away a year ago, and he's from South Africa. So he sounds like Anthony Hopkins, and they look alike. They dress alike. They're like, I mean, essentially, her dad is English. He moved to England, and South Africa has English sort of, what do you call it? What's that called?
British accent?
Yeah, it's the same accent, basically, essentially.
Yeah.
What's it called though? What I'm talking about? What do you call the all the stuff? The society, not society, but
colonialism.
No. You know what I mean? Not just England, South Africa. Like each country has its own blank
identity.
Yeah, identity. What's that called? Where like,
why don't you just say the sentence you're trying to say and just have the word blank, and I'll see if I can fill it out. Just say the sentence you're trying to say.
You know, England and South Africa have a very similar blank.
History, culture.
Culture.
Okay.
Culture was the word. Yeah. So culturally very similar. Anyways, they look and sound alike. So it just like destroyed. She's just like sobbing next to me. Yeah. It's a powerful film. And of course, I'm dead on the inside and the outside. So I'm watching it being like, wow, this is sad and powerful.
But it is powerful. And this is what we were talking about before about like, I don't know if we talked about it offline or online, but the thing about how like I can watch I can watch a movie that's really depressing and love it over and over again. And other people are like, God, I couldn't watch a movie. It's so depressing. For me, what's depressing is a boring movie that doesn't make me feel. That's what's depressing. Any movie that if I leave not feeling anything, I feel depressed because I'm dissatisfied. If I can watch art that even if it makes me sad, the fact that it made me feel something on some bigger level, I'm happy that I watched great art, even if it's sad. You know what I mean? I
agree. Not only did we talk about this online, we talked about it earlier in this episode.
No, that's right, man. I couldn't tell if we recorded. We talked a little before I'm having dementia. I'm telling it's like contagious, the movie. I took the wrong medication. I'm getting anxious. But anyway, it's, I mean, it is this movie where I think when you see people get dementia, you it's so awful you try not to empathize with them. You in a way you block out being in their head. And this movie reminds you of kind of a very terrifying fact, which is that they don't think they have dementia. So they from their perspective, it's lucid. It's just the world around them's not making sense. And that's a terrifying thing to realize, that you actually, it puts you in that situation where it's not that much different from now. It's just that the world around you're still trying to, you see what I'm saying? You're still having the mechanism to try to make sense of everything.
Right. That's what's an interesting thing. And I know this is like wrong, but there's part of me, because of course, as a person with anxiety, or maybe this is just a human activity either way, but like when I watch somebody suffering of anything, I put myself in that position. Is that going to happen to me? Am I going to get cancer? Am I going to? And it does feel like there's something solace I take in, like, well, it seems like having dementia is worse for the people that you love than it is for you.
Well, that's what I thought until I saw this movie.
Right. And then he sees his daughter and he's like, what's going on? What are you doing in here?
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the thing we've kind of prevented ourselves from fully empathizing with people's dementia because it's too upsetting.
Right.
This movie kind of breaks free of like, oh no, we've always said our whole lives, it's worse for the people around you. It's actually not so bad if you have it. And then this movie's like, oh no, it's a terrifying nightmare of anxiety and mystery. And even though they seem normal on the surface, that's them just trying to desperately hold everything together. And no, I think it kind of breaks through that illusion a little.
But I do want the kind of dementia that makes Olivia Colman look like Olivia Williams. Like at one point he confuses and he's like, hey, honey. And it's just like a way hotter woman. And he's like, hey, it's my daughter. I'm like, I would like that kind of dementia where I look at my, niece or whatever, and it's like a smoke show. She's still very hot, by the way.
Who is Olivia Williams, by the way? She looks so familiar.
You know her. You're
mad by that? I wasn't that shocked, was I?
She plays.
Was I cunty? Was a Frank Langella
no,
thing?
I just thought, I feel like it was a funny callback. She's Rosemary in Rushmore.
Oh yes. I was like, who the fuck is that? Oh yeah. Oh,
she's in a couple other things too, but yeah, she's from Rushmore to me.
She's gotten old, and so have we. But
she's
still
hot.
Still very well. What about the other girl? Jesus,
Olivia Colman.
God, do you even see younger women, or like does it just?
Oh, the other one, Poots,
the really hot young woman in the movie.
We have different ideas of what hot is.
You don't think she's hot?
She's good looking. She's cute. I think Olivia Williams is hotter.
I love how you're like, we have different ideas of what hot is. You think it's like 25-year-olds.
Well, she's okay. She's got like her hair's like across here and like square. She's got the haircut of like Brave Sir Robin from Monty Python.
That's how I like it. I have a Monty Python fetish. But I wanted to cut my arms off. Yeah, she's the movie is like it is just so terrifying. And the part where Rufus Sewell slaps him is like one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life.
It's horrendous. No, the other guy's slapping him.
Oh, is it the other guy?
Yeah, and then it cuts back to Rufus, the real husband.
Oh, right. Well, right. Actually, fuck. Yeah, I couldn't tell if that was. No, I think it's Rufus slapping him. He just thinks it looks like the other guy, or is it the other guy?
I thought he was just imagining that he was being slapped. Was he actually getting slapped?
I think he was getting slapped by Rufus. I think Rufus, maybe we have different interpretations of the movie. Fuck.
Yeah, I don't know because, well, it depicts the male who we realize later is the male nurse.
Yes.
It depicts him in the movie.
It's definitely him slapping him.
And then when the Olivia Colman responds, it's now Rufus, her husband.
But that guy is saying the lines Rufus said earlier. Remember, Rufus is like, how long are you going to be around here getting on everyone's nerves?
Right.
And that seems like something Rufus would say more. It'd be weird if the nurse was like, the doctor's like, how long are you hanging out at this nursing home?
I guess so. But then we're to believe that while she's in the kitchen, her husband is smacking the shit out of her dad?
That's my thought. I thought Rufus Sewell's like a real piece of shit. Because remember, he's like taunting him at the dinner?
Yes, he is shitty. He's trying to like prove his point. Here's the thing. Here's one flaw I had with this movie. Let's come back to that in a second.
Yeah.
This is one flaw I had with that movie is it did feel like a lot of them were responding like they're not aware he's got dementia. Like they'd be like, "What? No,
Yeah, a couple.
I already made chicken. Remember we had chicken." Like they're not like, "Oh, he's having an episode." Like through most of the movie, it felt like they kept being like, "What is this? He thinks he's in another house." Like they're aware that he has dementia.
There are like, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. Because if someone's like, "What is a chicken?" You'd be like, we already had the chicken." You'd be a little annoyed, but you think they're showing like almost like surprise too much.
Yes, they're like blown away by it. They're like, the chicken I just brought in.
This is your. Yeah, I guess you're right. I saw it a couple of times. That's a valid point because there's a couple times where they're like, "What are you saying? You don't remember it because of your dementia? That's crazy." You know what I mean? Like there's a couple parts where they just seem like, "Dad, this isn't. Why do you think you're in some? Why do you think you're somewhere else?" You know? Yeah, there are definitely some parts like that.
That's why I was wondering about dementia. Do you maybe imagine that things are happening that aren't happening? Because he thinks he's in an old folks' home, but he thinks he's in his apartment. Couldn't he be having a debate with her husband, and he imagines he's being struck by him? Is that possible?
It is possible, and I guess essentially the movie is all in the nursing. It's him imagining it all in a nursing home, right? He's in the. I kind of suggest he has to be in the nursing home the whole time because, or maybe not the whole time, but I think in a way he is. He's just reimagining stuff.
Yeah, I guess because that's why he's seeing the doctor in his.
He sees the doctor fairly soon, so the doctor. The minute he sees the doctor, it already means he's in the nursing home. I think he's in the nursing home the whole time, and he's reimagining moments. And I do think sometimes the memories do blend with. I think the memories do blend together because at one point she takes him to the doctor and he's telling her that she's going to Paris, and she's like, "No, I'm not." So that's him definitely remembering something from the past, but bringing his information from the future, imagining him saying something from the future in a past memory, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's what's so great about the movie is it's so jarring that we as an audience genuinely don't know if his daughter moved to Paris or not.
But I think by the end we do.
By the end we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
The very end.
But the whole time you're like, and how about that other amazing part with the accident where she brings up the accident, the girl, that part's incredible. And it's so incredible that she doesn't say it, because I was like, for a second, I was like, this better not be a dumb movie where she goes, "Your daughter died. You don't remember?" But instead she's like, the accident. He's like, what accident? She's like, "Time for your medication."
Yes. No, it's amazing. And it's so painful. And so evidently he had two daughters, and one he liked better.
He makes that clear when he's not very subtle when he goes, "My other daughter, who I liked much better."
Yeah, and she died, and then he forgets, which is horrible. I remember there was a comic who got in a like an accident and was in like a coma, and supposedly I heard a story that when he came out of the coma, he didn't realize which members of his family were dead, and they had to like retell him which family members were dead.
More importantly, did he at least remember his act?
I think so.
Well, that's
back now.
That's fine. That's fine now. Yeah, that's fucked up. That's awful. So you just had to tell, yeah.
So you got to be like, yeah, your daughter died.
He just wakes up. He's like, from the coma. "Great. I'd love to see Grandpa and Grandma and my first goldfish. Where are they? Where's my dog when I was 2?
I'm glad you're having a good time. I mean, it was a tragedy for him and for Anthony Hopkins in this film.
Should be the idea of him just immediately wanting to see his old goldfish. Why isn't the goldfish here? That's awkward. You think he'd visit me right away? We got some bad news. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I guess the whole idea is, and I'm sure if you asked the writer director, he'd be like, you don't have to know everything, because the idea is like you're feeling the confusion. But I guess we all have our different theories. I guess for me, I just assumed because Rufus Sewell is saying horrible shit at the table,
Yes.
So I guess part of me thought maybe he really is a piece of shit who was slapping him.
Yeah, maybe. I just thought maybe.
But then it could also be the nurse, or the doctor, sorry.
Maybe I thought maybe they were having like a disagreement, and in his mind, he's like, "Oh, this guy's like slapping me around."
No, Yeah, that's the problem with the movie, because there is this question of reality, but I do also like, I guess I thought, at least the one thing is, when something's happening to someone, you don't know, there's two different people who are doing it, but one of them actually did do it. I guess that's the thought I had, you know?
Maybe you're right. I mean, this is like what I talked about earlier. It is tricky watching a movie one time and then talking about it critically, because I might see it a second time and be like, oh, so he's
Yeah.
gay. You know what I mean? Like, you just miss stuff.
Isn't it funny too that this movie feels like one of those, in a way, we're talking about it like it's a Christopher Nolan movie, like Fight Club, or not, that's David Fincher, but Fight Club or Memento, one of those old movies about, Inception, but really it's a movie about just a guy with dementia, but it is treated that way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's really discombobulated, but it's like stunning. It's really well done. I mean, I just and the performance is spectacular.
I mean, there's just so many amazing, the way they slowly pace out, how it gets more and more confusing, the way he tries to pretend like everything's normal the whole time, and the way he he's also not a great person, which is also very true for the guy I was a caretaker for. The one thing they don't go into is sexual shit, which can, when I've been a caretaker for a couple people's dementia, and sometimes they get fucking sexual.
Really? They try to fuck you?
Not me, but I was with one guy with dementia, not here, but Louisville, and we were walking around, and there was a 13-year-old girl, and he goes, or maybe she was like 8, and he goes, "You think her bush will be red?" Because she had like red hair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I had to fucking answer. I'm like, I mean, yeah, I guess so. I mean, like,
why did you have to answer? You couldn't be like, that's not really appropriate.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said it. It was really fucked up.
Wow. Wait, and she went from 13 to 8 at the last second.
Well, I don't know. She was young.
Did you amend that because you're like, oh wait, 13-year-olds do have bushes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was an awful. I was like, wait, would she be too young? I just remember her being too young to Anyway, I feel uncomfortable. We got to delete all of this. But anyway, dementia shit.
Fine.
Dementia shit is, you can get really sexual, and he never really gets sexual with that one girl. But other than that, yeah, incredible thing. That one hilarious line where he's like, "Are you a nun?" No, why? Why are you treating me like I'm retired?
That was great. And then he doubled down on it too, which I loved.
What did he double down?
He just said it again like a few minutes later. I just like any movie that says retard in it. Which, by the way, we fell off. The first 9 episodes we said retard in every episode.
We brought it back this time. I feel like we just said it 12 times. But
I said it 3, but it's in the movie twice.
Well, it's also just a hilarious thing for like an old guy to say. It's a perfect old guy thing where he thinks of nuns as still the ones who took care of mentally handicapped people, It's like just a very old version of, that part's like he's just incredible. And the ending, when he finally lets it all out, it's just like, Jesus, it's just so incredible.
Yeah, it's hard, and you're like, is that, I don't know, it's hard to it's hard to even articulate. It's just a powerful film, and what a fucking horrible tragedy. And you want it, bitch, because I don't think you don't die from dementia, right?
I think eventually you do. I think
because your organs start fucking up. Is that right? Like your brain stops doing the things it's supposed to do because it.
Yeah, I think it messes up your motor skills and shit. Yeah, I think so. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Do people die of Alzheimer's? I don't know how it works.
I think you do. But I could be wrong.
My grandfather had, my father's father got dementia, and it was bad. He was like cutting his own hair and shit, and it would be like all chunky and lopped off, and he'd piss his pants.
He was trying to, he was just thought he just didn't want a barber. He wanted to cut his own hair.
I think he just thought like, my hair's long. I'll go get my clippers, and then he would it would have like big chunks missing out of it and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even cut my hair. I wouldn't have the confidence to cut my hair now. I feel like I'd fuck it up, much less if you had.
Well, I don't think it was because he was exploding with confidence. It wasn't like he was like, "Hey, I can do anything." I think he was like,
I think your grandpa's being a little cocky, honestly. No, my aunt had Alzheimer's. My grandpa had dementia. I was with a caretaker. Guy with dementia. We went to a church, the church around here, in Manhattan. And how in churches everyone's just quietly sitting there here in Manhattan, like praying or whatever weird Christians shit do. we walked up. There was like a quote that said like, "Whatever work I do with thy hands, do it with love." And he just like yelled out in the church, "Is he talking about masturbating?" Just screamed it in the church in front of all these people silently praying.
Oh, that's fun.
That's fun. It's a fun story. Yeah.
Well, that reminds me. I was just listening to a podcast with Sam Harris, and he was talking about mental illness, and he said a lot of the things about one of the fixtures or points of whatever the fuck. I'm so bad with words, but one of the things with mental illness is you end up doing a lot of things that everybody does, but you do it in places where it's not acceptable.
Yeah, right.
We all talk to ourselves and we all jerk off and walk around in our underwear. We just don't do it at a fucking bagel shop. Yeah. You and I might see that sign at a church and be like, do it with your hands jerking off.
Yeah, it's like you have no filter. Yeah.
Yeah, you just wouldn't yell it out. I would say it to you. I wouldn't say it to the priest.
I shit every day, but I don't do it like in the subway cart in front of people. You know,
exactly.
Yeah. No, that's true. I guess people's mental illness. I guess it is kind of. Are you ever doing something that people wouldn't do? I mean,
some things obviously. I mean, like I wouldn't wear fucking diapers as shoes or whatever.
Or if you like cut off like your mother's head and fuck it. I wouldn't do that. Not only would I do that, it's not like I think that in my head.
Other than just a moment ago. Right. Yeah, and obviously there's levels of, that's psychotic. That might not even be mentally.
I mean, I mean the kind where you're, psychotic, not like where you're just like crazy. You do it because a voice told you to do it.
Right, I guess so. Yeah. So, but yes, obviously there's examples that it's not like 100%. This is what mental illness means. I mean, you could argue that you and I are mentally ill. We're obsessing over cankers and taking too much medicine, whatever bullshit you got.
Yeah, mine's the bullshit one. Isn't it funny about anxiety? You would never think anyone has it as bad as you.
Yeah, it is. And then you meet people that you do, and then you're like, okay, great. And then you become friends with them.
Yeah. Wait, am I that person? Do you think I have it worse than you? Am I making you feel better?
No, I didn't say it makes you feel better. I mean, I'm just saying you meet someone that has horrible mental illness and you're like, okay. And you feel.
And then you like connect. Yeah.
Yes.
You empathize. Yeah. I try to help people with anxiety to like take it away from my own,
What would help better is if you help people to take it away from theirs. And then as a result, it would make you feel better.
Oh, yeah. I guess I could go that next step. Well, no, I help them to take it away, and that distracts me. Is that drink you were drinking the other week? And did you order like
one? You didn't help me at all. I tried to start, and then you just went off on your own. So you don't do that.
Wait, what do you mean?
At the beginning, I was like, man, I'm dealing with this problem, and then you just cut me off and started talking about your own. So I disagree. You don't do that. But you should. But yeah, no, this is Liquid Death. Colleen from the Omaha Funny Bone sent me some. Liquid Death Mountain Water. Everybody should get some. Order some up. It's awesome.
This is like our first sponsor.
Yeah, kind of, except no money, but still, I got some free product and it's pretty awesome. Mountain water, drinking water from the Alps.
Can they work me?
Your thirst.
Can they work me at the club? That could be the trade-off for these plugins.
I'll put in a word. Of course, I'm plugging it, not you. No, you'd be great there. Should love you, I think.
What is it? Omaha Funny Bone?
Omaha Funny Bone. Colleen, it's like the best funny bone.
Actually, yeah, I got to do it. So anyway, we should wrap it up actually, because I got a spot at the Cellar 520 and I got to take a shower.
Wow, that's when they give all the best comics a spot. That's prime time, baby. Yes, let's wrap it up. I'll see you there at some point. I'll be there when the pros show up, but I'm there at 8:30, I think. But yes, this is fun. Hopefully people like it. We only did 2 movies this week, but we'll do more next time or better ones.
Well, or maybe we would. I mean, like we're trying to like do it consistently now, so we're not just going crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to do. We're getting a lot of requests for P.T. Anderson, which I just watched his first movie, Hard 8. Have you ever seen that one?
Yeah, love it. Yeah,
it's fun. And then we're getting a lot of those requests. We were going to talk about Aaron Sorkin, and I want to go David Mamet because I've been on a huge Mamet kick lately.
Yeah, well, actually, this is a good point to bring this up. So I get a lot of messages saying, when are you can you post about movies you're watching next, Right. And I think we should, what about this?
Okay.
Every Tuesday, we'll post on both of ours, or just mine, on our Instagrams, the list of movies.
That's great. So what are we talking next week?
I mean, we don't have to post it now, but like, but just for everyone listening, if you want to see the movies, go on both our Instagrams on Tuesday, and we'll post it in the. I think we'll have to post it. I'll post it in the actual main page, so it doesn't disappear. Okay, so Tuesdays. Well, we could discuss it later, but I was wanting to do Sorkin, but we can do Mammoth. I mean, we'll decide and then post it.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if I'm going to rank these movies, I'm going to say.
Let me guess.
All right.
Let me see. Well, you hated Nomadland, and you loved The Father. I'm stumped. It could go either way.
Yeah, you are a stump. I'm gonna say Father number 1, and then Silver Linings Playbook number 2, and then Nomadland number 3. No, Nomadland, I hate it now. I watched it and liked it. The second time I'm like, I just don't, I'm not into it. But I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it's like, it's not a great movie. It's not a best picture. No. It's fine. It's like, oh, okay. It's better than a lot of movies.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it didn't do the things I think movies should do.
Right.
That's the best thing. It did not. The thing, what I want a movie to do, it didn't do that. But there was some good footage of cactus.
But The Father's fantastic.
Father's amazing. Check it out. It's really incredible. And where can they see you?
Oh yeah. Well, this weekend, Austin, Texas, I'm doing 2 shows. We added a second show, and there's no tickets sold. So get tickets for the 10 p.m. show or the early one. There's still some tickets available for the early show.
I think
Paramount
my best friend
Theater.
Zach's there. He's gonna come see you.
Oh, nice. Oh, thanks, Zach.
Yeah, he's he'll come see you. So you got one person.
Great.
I'll let him know what kind of material he likes. You can.
Yeah.
In case no one else shows up.
Well, one of the shows is almost sold out. If you
that what you said? Sorry.
Yeah, that's when you add a show typically. But
what did it sell tickets? I thought you said. Am I having dementia right now?
No, the second show is light.
Where's my sister-in-law?
And then the weekend after that, I'll be at Mohegan Sun Comics Roadhouse at Mohegan Sun with Matt Wayne, May 20th through the 22nd.
That's a fun club. A lot of people hate it. I think it's fun.
Yeah, it's fine. I like to gamble.
Yeah, you like to gamble? It's too much for me.
Yeah, not much. I mean, I don't want to give the wrong impression. I gamble like $200 at roulette, and I go, I lost, whatever.
Oh, I can't. I think I like made $30 once and then lost it immediately. It was just too much of an emotional roller coaster. I was like, I can't.
Yeah. No, well, I'm one of the, I go in and I'm like, I am going to give this casino $300, and anything that's not that, I'm like, great.
Oh, okay, that's a good way to think of it. I guess, yeah, I should think of that, but for my tax range, like I'm gonna give this casino $12, and whatever happens. But $12. And you can see me at Rogue Island Comedy Festival. Do we have any Rhode Island fans? We probably do.
I'm sure. Yeah,
people from fucking South Africa and Brazil and shit. Yeah. Yeah. Come to the Rogue Island Festival. It's on. Let me get the date out. It's on May 28th and 29th. And that's it for a while. I got to. I'm gonna reach out to Colleen.
Yeah, please do.
All right. Well, this is great.
Yeah, great up, and that was really fun.
Take care.
Thanks for listening, everybody.